So I'm nearing the finish line for the first set of cabinets for my son's kitchen, and I have been installing drawer glides. These are the Euro style undermount type drawer glides. There's a cabinet member, as they call it, and a drawer member, left and right for both of those. And as you can see, I've built myself a jig. Get jiggy with it. Which makes things a lot easier, and I owe a debt of gratitude to Anna White and her channel. She didn't use a jig necessarily, but she did give me a couple of pointers about how to install these. I struggled on the first cabinet, but I'm going to tell you right now, a simple jig like this makes it way easier. You can spend money, buy Craig jig or some other brand of jig, but you really don't need it. Jig like this works just fine. I've made 3 different ones for the different height. This is a pots and pans cabinet. It's going to have 3 drawers in it, obviously for pots and pans. You may notice that this cabinet appears to be the same height as me, but it's not. What I did was made my life easier. I went ahead and put the cabinet up on the bench top. That may seem obvious, maybe not, but it definitely makes it easier. So again, I'm going to start. Because of the way these jigs work that I made, they have to go up against the side of the cabinet like this. I'm going to start with the top cabinet rail, the cabinet member as they call it, and I'm going to work my way down. I'm going to use this to position the rail like so. And one of the pointers that Anna White gave on her channel, the manufacturer recommends this really odd measurement. It's like 5/32 or something, that the cabinet member should be back into the cabinet. I think that's the minimum. So one of the things that helped greatly was her tip of putting this cabinet member back in the cabinet slightly so that the drawer goes in far enough and then the drawer front actually rests on the cabinet. I had a heck of a time with the first cabinet by following that 5/32, which was really interesting to find on tape measure as well. So I would recess these back. I recessed them back about 3/16 of an inch. Maybe that's too much, but seems to be working fine right now. So one thing I also didn't mention, I have, hopefully you can see that, I have my adjustable square set up in such a way that I measured from the cabinet to this first hole. That's what Anna, right there, Anna recommends measuring to one of these holes here in her video. And that works well because it's really difficult when you're trying to place this cabinet member in here and try to measure from here or whatever, which is, it's not impossible, but it's a little more difficult. So with something like this, so I can see if I push the cabinet member back and line that up with the hole, then I know that's where I need to be. And actually, I'm pointing to the wrong hole. It's actually this hole. I started looking, that's a bit more than 3/16 of an inch, so kind of hard to see on camera, but it's right about there. Apparently the camera wasn't going, but I went ahead, held that there, drilled that first hole, and I hand drove the screw in there. I have seen people that use drill drivers or whatever. I don't feel comfortable doing that, so I just put that first screw in. I put all these screws in the cabinet by hand with a hand driver. So yeah, the next screw I'm going to do, the next hole, is all the way to the back. Again, there might be a right and wrong way of which holes to use. I use the holes that I use. Haven't had a problem. So it's going to be hard for you to see, but maybe I'll see if I can find another angle. Okay, so I did find a different angle. So we can, hopefully you can see. So again, I'm not sure if there's a correct set of holes or incorrect set of holes. And a self-centering drill bit would be really convenient for something like this. So that's on my wish list. And again, I just hand drive the screw into the hole. That's really all there is to it. Repeat for the other side and then work your way down. Um, I have other jigs for the other lengths. I built my drawers first and determined, based on trial and error to a degree, a little bit of math, where these drawer members needed to be placed for consistency. So next one down, as I had said, I had already determined. And these are the drawer glides I used. I'll link down below where I've got those, but they were relatively inexpensive. And some of the reviews said that the metal seemed thinner than others, but honestly, I work in the home improvement retail business, and there's nothing wrong with these. I don't believe they're any thinner. I did have some drawer glides left over from another project, and they seem real similar to me, other than, as I mentioned, they didn't have the stamping in them of which side is the left and the right. And if you know where that wheel's at and the wheel goes down, I think you're all right. So I just continue on down. This jig's a little bit better because it's 3/4 inch plywood, where that other one was just 1/4 inch plywood. So maybe at a future date I'll fix that. And then, of course, for the very bottom, I took 2 pieces of, say, 1/4 inch plywood, but all this plywood is actually metric. It's made in Ecuador by a company called Sandy Ply. I really like their product, but it's all metric. Even this, they say, I mentioned in another video, 3/4 inch, but it's 18 millimeters or something like that. So same thing for the very bottom. Line it up where it needs to go. Just double check the positioning of that hole. And once you feel like it's in the right spot, go ahead and start drilling. One thing I've seen other videos on these drawer glides, the creators would mention using these slotted holes so that you can make adjustments. I don't know, maybe I'm kind of an amateur or whatever, but the first cabinet that I did like this, I did have to make quite a few adjustments, and I just re-drilled holes. Nobody's going to see them. They're behind the drawer glides for the most part. So that's my personal take on it. And even with my perfectionism, if you've seen other videos, that's okay with me. No one's ever going to see it. And sorry that I'm not enunciating my words very well. I've got this sinus thing going on. Who knows? It might be allergies from everything starting to bloom out in the yard. I've got the cabinet members all installed in the box itself for the cabinet. Now we're moving on to the drawer members. These are undermount, Euro style undermount. They have several holes for screws, as I mentioned, same as the cabinet members. There's a wheel for guiding it. And as you can see, I overbuilt my cabinets, or my drawers, I should say. Wasn't thinking, like Winnie the Pooh says, think, 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 think. And I could have just looked at my own kitchen cabinets and saw that you don't need this full width, this full height of the drawer. You could probably go about half. So these drawers are heavy, but that's okay. I'm learning. Life's a journey, right? We're all on this journey of learning and self-discovery. So again, there's various holes here. I put 3 screws in it, in each one of these, as I did on the cabinet members. The manufacturer only sends enough screws to put 2 per, so that's probably what's recommended. But anybody that knows me and has been following me, I like to overbuild stuff. So let's get going and show you how to attach these to the drawers. So something I learned by trial and error is where to place the cabinet member portion of the drawer slide. For some reason, I was thinking that the wheel had to be near the front, but that is wrong. So because my drawer slides are slightly smaller than my drawers, I want to make sure that the side without the wheel, which is up here, is near the front. And again, all of these have various holes in them. So they have some slotted holes as well as some just regular holes. And again, I was told that the slotted holes are so that you can make minor adjustments. And I just use the regular round holes. There's also holes through the side. I'm assuming those are there so that you can add extra fasteners if you're looking for extra support. And I suppose on these drawers I could use the drill driver on a low setting. So let's give that a shot, see how that works. I got the clutch set pretty low, so let's give it a shot. Nothing like the drill bit skipping out of the head of the drill, or the head of the screw. These are cheap metal, I'm sure, and really easy to strip. So that's one side done. Just taking flip your drawer around or whatever works for you, and as they say, rinse and repeat, and do this for all the rest of the drawers. And bam, like magic, it's done. The drawers are in the cabinet box. Not too bad. They glide pretty nicely. Didn't take too awfully long. And I'd have to say, for being the least expensive drawer slides that I could find online, they're not bad. And as I've heard other woodworkers say, these type of drawer slides are the easiest to work with and the most forgiving. And I will definitely vouch for that. So the next step is to make drawer fronts. So if you've seen my previous videos on this cabinet build, I did shaker style doors for the uppers. And I had considered doing shaker style doors, or shaker style drawer fronts, I should say, for the drawers. But in interest of time and the fact that this drawer here is so small, it only requires a 6-inch drawer front, and the shaker style doors that I have been making have 2.5-inch rails. So there would just be a tiny little strip in between. So what I decided to do is to go with a little more modern look. I'm using this plywood that I really like, this sandy ply. I've edge banded 3 of the 4 edges. Don't need to edge band the bottom. This is the bottom, nobody's going to see it. And then what I like to do is cut these out of a single piece of plywood so that the grain matches up. When you close the drawers, it looks like a single piece of plywood for the most part. Yeah, there's a 16th-inch gap between for functionality, but I think it really looks nice. May look too ultra modern for the doors that I made, but hey, my first time trying this, and I think things are going pretty well. Hopefully you agree. If you're getting any kind of value out of this video, I would really appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and share this video with other people. And I always value your comments. Even if they are constructive criticism, I welcome that. I've moved on to cutting the drawer fronts out of the 3/4-inch plywood. Something I've learned is paying attention to detail is very important. Being impatient never pays off, because I want this to look like it came from one solid sheet of plywood, and when the drawers are closed, to have the grain pattern match up. It's important to measure and to double and triple check which side you're cutting the board from. I start from the bottom. I cut this bottom drawer face a little bit oversized because I can always trim more off the bottom. But the key, as I said, this is the plywood that I'm cutting it out of. So, not sure if you can see that on camera, but that grain matches up. So I want to make sure that this edge is against the fence when I cut. It's not so important at this point, at this middle drawer front. It's extremely important for this top drawer front. And if you're wondering why this is so oversized, I'm trying to get the most out of a sheet of plywood. So I cut this piece to 34.5 because I needed, I didn't want to waste the other side by cutting it to 31 inches, which is what this total is, from above the toe kick to where the countertop will be. So I cut it to 34 and a half so that I can use that other piece for a side, for the side of another cabinet. Okay, now that I have all three pieces cut roughly to the size that I want them, and I've cut them correctly so that the grain all lines up, what I'll do is I'm going to fasten the center one first temporarily, and then I will add the edge banding, because without the edge banding it's hard to get an accurate measurement of the distance between the drawers. And then I use rubber bumpers that you would use inside the cabinet doors. I use those as spacers, and that works really good to get the correct space between each one. The critical thing for me was to make sure that this drawer front is the correct size, and I know that already from doing a couple other cabinets. And I leave this one long, and obviously, like I said, I leave the top long, and then I can cut those as I need them to size. I've got the bottom two drawer fronts ready to go. The edge banding is on there, it's nice and sanded. So what I do, there's many methods to do this, but I use some kind of spacer, and I'm going to put the bottom drawer front there for right now. And then, because I like to start in the middle, and I can trim this and I can trim the top drawer. I like to use these bumpers, like I'd mentioned before, as my spacers. I stole that from somebody else, some other video. So I get that drawer front centered. Take the next drawer front that's ready to go. Got its edge banding on it. It's all sanded down, ready to go. Get that lined up with the one below. Make sure we got the same amount of reveal. So I take a bar clamp. Seen several different methods to doing this. This is the method I use. Yeah, it's probably easier methods, but I'm using what I got. These are the tools that I have. I don't have any specialized tools for doing this. So once I get a clamp on that side, I'll grab another clamp, put on the other side as well. These aren't the cheapest bar clamps you can get, but they're pretty darn close. And I ensure that we still have clearance up there before I start doing that. And I'll also take a couple of the rubber bumpers for the doors, and I'll place them there, and I make sure that that clears without knocking those off. So I know if it clears without knocking those off, I got plenty of clearance. And this cabinet happened to be one of the only ones that I didn't take my square to and make sure it was squared up before I screwed it and glued it. And about 1/4 of an inch out of square, but I think, can't really tell that. There's a little bit of a gap difference from this part of the drawer to that part of the drawer, but not 1/4 of an inch. It's probably 1/8 of an inch. So I think we're good. So I probably should have moved the cabinet to the floor for this. I will take and pre-drill from inside the cabinet in each one of the corners, upper and lower. And then I use these GRK cabinet screws with a wafer head on it to fasten the drawer fronts. And like I said, I'm putting 2 screws in it for now. That probably goes hand in hand with my procrastination and perfectionism, just because if something's not right, then I guess I only have 2 screws in there, and it's easier to fix 2 screw holes than 4. Pretty silly, I know. Put the second one in and go from there. All right, let's see how she works. Seems to operate just fine. Stops where it's supposed to stop. Reveal looks pretty good on both sides. So now it's just a matter of cutting the bottom drawer front to the correct height and the top drawer front to the correct height, putting some edge banding on it, and then attaching those drawer fronts. It's just more rinse and repeat. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Like I said before, if you do, please give me some love and share the video, and give me a thumbs up. Comments are always welcome, and new subscribers as well. Thanks. Appreciate you guys sticking around to the end.